And that report by Lucy Provan and Josh Vardy. Joining me now in the studio is Unesco Gender Education Specialist Maki Hayashikawa. Maki, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Given what you've just seen in that report, are boys indeed being left behind in the classroom?
I would say that it's very difficult to generalize around the world, but I think it is a growing concern happening in the education sector. When we talk about gender equality, we tend to have this focus on girls' issues, but in fact, gender is a matter of both girls and boys, women and men. And we have to see that equality in education has to be seen from both girls and boys' perspective.
What are the specific problems that boys are facing?
We see that boys often tend to fail in many countries where we do have research going on, is that it happens mostly when they reach adolescence in particular, which means around secondary education. We do see that boys do pretty well together with girls in primary education. In most of the country, we do have research, which tend to be in the Western and more developed countries. But when it comes to adolescence, there's other socio-economic factors or cultural factors that seem to affect boys to be underperforming and even dropping out of school.
So the key thing in all of this is to ensure that there's true gender equality between both sexes in the classroom, isn't there?
Yes, indeed. Of course, we have to look at the issue that girls face in education, continuous education, and even moving upwards in the education ladder. But we cannot do that at the expense of boys. It's also unfortunate that when boys do underperform girls, they tend to make the headlines of newspapers, where girls don't. So I think there's a lot of this preconceptualized or I would say some assumptions that boys are supposed to be doing better than girls in general, whereas we're talking about boys and girls who are growing up together in the same education environment.
Is this very much a first world problem, however? Because I imagine in the developing world, you still have a lot of issues about young girls actually getting the chance to get into a classroom.
Yes, I think it is more highlighted in the developed countries for sure, but it's not limited to the developed countries, not limited to Europe or US or UK and so on. We do see cases happening in East Asia, also in the Latin America, particularly in the Caribbean countries. We see spotted cases in Africa as well as in Arab states. So it is actually a situation that is emerging around the world.
Now, the UN is holding a summit in New York, which is marking 20 years since that landmark gathering in Beijing, where a whole series of policy initiatives were rolled out to empower women.
Yes.
But when we look at the area of girls' education, how far have we travelled since 1995?
Well, we have come far since then, that is for sure. In many countries, girls' enrollment, access to education have doubled or tripled in many countries. Many countries have actually achieved so-called gender parity in enrollment, which means that you have same proportion of boys and girls entering education. However, there is much to be done. The ultimate goal is gender equality, not just having girls and boys in school. We want to see that the outcomes of education is also leading to equality between the sexes in beyond education as well, because the impact of education has to be felt throughout life. It cannot be just within the school context.
And when you say we've still got some way to go, I mean, what else needs to be done?
I think we have to see that we do not promote girls and women's education at the expense of boys and men's, of course. The opportunity and the right to education is for everyone. It's for boys, girls, men, and women. And we have to see that how education systems are receiving the different needs and aspirations of boys and girls. Although we talk about equality, it doesn't mean that we're going to treat boys and girls exactly the same. There are differences between biological differences, aspirational differences, motivations, and all these things. And the education system has traditionally tended to try to deal with the group of very diverse population in the classroom and trying to deal with them in exactly the same way. And I think we are moving towards an age where we have to see more personalized education, even within the classroom, to see that teachers and the education system overall can meet the individual needs and aspirations through education.
I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.